I don't know, I heard it from somewhere. Let me ask you a question, Esther. Where did you hear that? Quickly, who did you hear that from?
Every single day, every literal single day, when you turn on the internet and go on your media hubs, maybe it's Instagram, maybe it's TikTok, there is someone in a corner literally discussing about Black women. At this point, I used to think Black women saying, "Oh, can we get a break?" was like, we are just being sassy and all, but for real, can Black women ever get a break? Like, can they just leave Black women alone? There's this podcast, Asian podcast to be specific, going viral right now and getting cancelled because one of them decided to start talking about a Black woman's private part. A woman named Esther on the podcast under the influence decided to hone our microphone and start talking about a Black woman's private part. Talking about, oh, it's so big, oh, it's this because their men are this. You guys are literally, it's horrible. Like, even listening to it hurt my ears, and I could not even find the longer version of their video online, but I was able to get stitches of people, including when she said that in the video. So I'm sure you guys are going to be seeing that in the stitch. So without wasting much time, let's just get right into what a woman of color is saying about another Black woman.
You know, Esther, just because you hear something, it doesn't mean that it bears repeating. And I would think that you, being a woman that's part of a community that is constantly over-sexualized and objectified and dehumanized, that you would know to not do that to somebody else. Which is why I find what you said about Black women to be particularly troubling.
Yeah. You guys, okay, I'm gonna say something kind of wild, but it's because I saw it somewhere. But I don't know if we might have to cut it out. But anyways, someone said that the reason why some girls' vagina is tighter than others is because used. Huh? No. It has nothing to do with that. They said that it's because, like, ethnicity wise, like Black men have, are known to have larger dicks, so therefore the women have, that makes sense, bigger holes. And then you know how
because we know what it feels like to have people talk about us like we're not humans and talk about our body parts and our genitals. You know, Esther, there was this one time this man came up to me and he said, I heard that Asian women have sideways vaginas. And of course I said, well, that's just not true. He said, well, I don't believe you. You're going to have to show me. And that was one of the most dehumanizing things I think I've ever experienced. So for you to sit there on your podcast and talk about Black women's bodies the way that you did, it is the intersection of racism and misogyny. There's even a term for it. It's called misogynoir. And really, Esther, like, what was your point? Was your point to just be a fucking pick-me? Which is ironic considering who you were among when you said this. Because the stereotype was what? That Black men have big you-know-whats. So that conversely means that Black women must have big you-know-whats. And for you to say that in a room full of Asian men, where the stereotype is that Asian men have small you-know-whats, so then what? That means that you have a teeny tiny tight little you-know-what? Is that what you were trying to accomplish? Is that what you were trying to do? Do you think that they knew that you were throwing them under the bus while you were also dehumanizing and being racist and misogynistic towards Black women? I don't even know if they caught that. I did. And I honestly don't know what the future holds for you and your podcast, but what I do know is I believe that you owe Black women a deep and sincere apology. Now, I don't know if they're going to accept it, but you at the very least should be issuing it.
Esther from Under the Influence is proof that male validation is a drug that will cost you brain cells. Because when you think it's a good idea to say something so racist about the sexuality of Black people and Black women in regards to looseness, it's really gross to me. Shouldn't even have to talk about it. But the point is that it's the kind of person that's comfortable speaking on a podcast with guys like that, saying things like that for so long. And it also is why, like, when you see these women on podcasts, mostly male podcasts, and the men might be like trying to position this girl as like she's like one of the cool girls, she's one of the normal girls, she's not like other girls, she's not like Drew, she's not like the angry women on the internet who want you to hate men. She's cool, she makes awesome racist sex jokes, she's down. And I don't think it's worth it, because the thing is, she'll say something so crazy and brain dead like that, and the boys will be like, she's talking about sex, and it's racist. It's so funny. And then she thinks she made a good point. I think it costs you your soul.
I don't remember where I was specifically, but when I was little, somewhere in the US, I was around 8 or 9 years old, I was in an adult conversation that I should have been in. It's not like these grown-ups were talking to me, but I was in the vicinity and I could hear basically what they were saying. And I remember at the time it was a group of black men talking to each other. And this was not a kid-friendly area. They were talking about women in the most naughty way and all the ways that you could think they were. And then they started talking about specifically women genitalia. And at some point, I remember one of them saying, "Hey, haha, Asian women have sideways genitalia." Yeah, this is where we're going. And at the time, again, I was a kid and I should not have been around to hear that, but at the time, I still had a general understanding of women genitalia. I'm Haitian, so in my culture, like, women tend to be naked around other women all the time. Like, if my mom's taking a shower, she would be naked, I would see her body. If my aunt's taking a shower, she would be naked, I would see her body. It's not something that's rare for us, most of us at least. And with the brain of a little girl, even with that little understanding of the human body, I had a general understanding that even though these things might vary in, like, size and color, they're still kind of laid out the same. And so I thought that was kind of silly. At the time, I was too young to understand that it was a racist and a sexist comment made by that man. And, I forgot about it. Years later, I would be in college listening to 3-6 Mafia, Half on a Sack, the one that you guys liked. There's a part of the song that basically says that same sexist and racist stereotype against Asian women. And I must say again, it is racist and sexist. But not only that, it's ridiculously stupid. It's one of the most dumbest and ignorant things I've ever heard in my life, and I still stand by that. So, now that I'm 25 years old, I would not go to a podcast and talk about Asian women's genitalia in the first place. And even if I find myself in a conversation with a man or a woman who said that, I would probably deter from engaging in conversations that are sexist and racist towards Asian women, especially with the layer of humiliation that comes with what is being said. Not only are you speaking about somebody's private area, somebody's intimate area, because you shouldn't in the first place, but you're also feeding misogynoir. Specifically misogynoir. Because one of the best ways to dehumanize women and make them feel less than for men and other women to do is to talk about their body, especially that area. And call me sensitive if you want to, but I think it's extremely dehumanizing to talk about a group of people like that, even if the statement is ridiculously fucking stupid.
Let me get this straight. I get to be dehumanized, experience misogyny, experience racism, be sexualized by all men, including my own men and my race. I also get to be stereotyped as the angry black woman, ghetto, loud, ratchet, and nappy-headed. Oh, and lazy. And now we've added a new one. Now I also have to worry about men looking downstairs, wondering, how loose is it? Thank you, Esther.
Y'all, it is almost 1 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and I am still here stuck on the fact that that girl really sat up on that podcast with her full chest and proudly proclaimed that she believes black women have bigger vaginas than other women because black guys have bigger schlongs than other men. And the fact that she had the audacity to wrap that statement up with, "I don't know, I heard it from somewhere." Let me ask you a question, Esther. Where did you hear that? Quickly, who did you hear that from? An 8th grader with a addiction? Are you having race science discussions with Peter Griffin? The most concerning part of this is the fact that you would hear that and then immediately just interpret it as immutable fact. You didn't take a moment to question it and say, that sounds a bit preposterous. You want to know what I really think happened here, Esther? Assuming you didn't get your clearly very brief education entirely from an 1860s biology textbook, you just made that up. You ran out of things to say in that hollow skull, and that just came down the assembly line. Every single person on that podcast is absolutely under the influence of something, and the substance in question is stupid bitch juice.
What do you guys think about what the host said? The last creator actually sat down to give them a read. This is not the very first time that they are going viral. In fact, looking at their previous stitches, this is not the very first time that, things like this are coming from their podcast, like saying so many stupid things, and it's actually not making sense. How are you as a woman going to sit on a podcast knowing fully well that millions of people are going to be watching or seeing that clip, and you comfortably started talking about a woman's body? And I agree with the people that say that even if it's a stereotype that has been going on, that shouldn't make it okay to discuss on the podcast. I totally agree with that. This person said, the fact that there are so many East Asian women who genuinely see black women like this because they feel like they are being fetishized more in male validation is disturbing as hell. Another person said, how can people look themselves in the mirror after they say such hateful things? My mom always said, if you don't have anything nice to say, then don't say anything at all. What's hot? Like, we remember. Another one said, the people on the pods are obsessed with Black culture and hip hop and so anti-Black. Anti-people of color people bore me. There are so many comments that I saw under the stitches of people talking about how racist Asians are, and this is not even a new like finding. We are not just finding out that they don't really like Black people or they are racist. Another one said, ladies, remember, you don't see Asian men in con for a reason. What was said out of pure jealousy. Esther don't want smoke because it is too easy for the Black community to roast her to shit, which I agree with. Another one said, I genuinely feel sad for her. Imagine speaking about other women like this for the literal validation of men on a podcast. Imagine being a woman and not respecting women. Like that is where the problem, that is the issue. Like that is the specific issue. As a woman, going on a podcast to talk that way about another woman should not be okay. Another one said, it is crazy because a lot of non-Black women think this about Black men, and the only reason they date them, all time racist as F and don't give a fuck and don't give a F about the Black community. Let me hear what you guys think about what she said. Let me hear what you think about her going on the podcast and discussing that openly. At this point, the person that said that there should be a license or money paid before you can hold a mic and start a podcast, like, I totally agree with that person at this point. Enough of this podcast. There is another person who said something very different on another podcast. That is going to be in another video. So if you haven't subscribed, make sure to subscribe and turn your bell notification on. And I will see you guys on the next episode.